Imagine meeting someone who feels perfect for you at 22. You text all day, stay up until 3 a.m., talking, share playlists, future plans, and inside jokes. 6 months later, you're strangers. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Today, we're diving into a surprising question. Why do nearly 90% of relationships that begin in our 20s eventually break apart? Is it bad luck, bad timing, social media, unrealistic expectations, or something much deeper? The answer is far more fascinating than most people realize, and some of the biggest relationship mistakes happen long before the first serious argument even starts. Writing. The first reason is surprisingly simple. Most people in their 20s are not just looking for a partner. They're still discovering themselves. Think about it. At 20, you might want to travel the world, start a business, become a doctor, move abroad, or spend every weekend with friends. By 26, you may want completely different things. The problem is that relationships often begin with two people loving who they are today, while completely forgetting that both of them are still changing. Psychologist Jeffrey Arnett, known for his research on emerging adulthood, describes the 20s as one of the most unstable periods of life. People change careers, cities, friend groups, goals, habits, and even personalities. Now imagine trying to build a long-term relationship while both people are constantly evolving. It's a little like trying to build a house on moving ground. Let's compare two friends. Alex and Ryan both start dating at 21. Alex believes love alone is enough. Ryan believes compatibility matters just as much as chemistry. 3 years later, Alex wants to move to another country for a dream job, while his partner wants to stay near family. Suddenly, the relationship isn't fighting against a lack of love. It's fighting against two completely different futures. Ryan, meanwhile, spent time discussing career goals, family plans, and lifestyle expectations early on. Same age, same amount of attraction, very different outcome. And here's where things get interesting. Many breakups don't happen because someone cheated or because of a huge argument. They happen because of what researchers call gradual divergence. Two people slowly become different versions of themselves. No dramatic movie scene, no villain, just two paths quietly moving apart. Social media makes this even harder. 20 years ago, people mostly compared their relationships to couples they personally knew. Today, someone can compare their relationship to thousands of carefully edited couples before breakfast. 1 minute you're happy, the next minute you're wondering why your relationship doesn't look like that travel influencer couple flying business class to Bali every month. Of course, nobody posts the argument that happened 30 minutes before the perfect sunset photo. The philosopher Alain de Botton once pointed out that modern people expect one relationship to provide excitement, friendship, romance, emotional support, personal growth, adventure, and lifelong stability all at once. That's an enormous expectation for two humans who still can't decide what they want for dinner. And when expectations rise faster than reality can keep up, disappointment quietly enters the relationship. But expectations are only part of the story. The next reason relationships collapse in our 20s is even more powerful, and most people don't notice it until it's already causing damage. The second reason is communication, but probably not in the way most people think. When people hear communication problems, they imagine couples screaming at each other in dramatic arguments. In reality, many relationships end because people become experts at talking while remaining terrible at understanding. Picture this. Emma texts, "It's fine." Jake reads it and thinks everything is fine. Every experienced adult watching this just laughed a little. One of the biggest relationship traps in your 20s is expecting your partner to automatically understand your feelings without clearly expressing them. People want mind-reading software from a human being who still forgets where they left their keys. Research from psychologist John Gottman, who studied thousands of couples over decades, found that successful relationships aren't defined by having fewer problems. They're defined by handling problems differently. That's a huge distinction. Let's look at two couples. Couple A has an argument because one partner keeps canceling plans. Instead of discussing the issue, they store frustration like unopened email notifications. One becomes passive-aggressive. The other becomes defensive. Small irritation turns into resentment. Resentment turns into emotional distance. Eventually, they say, "We just grew apart." Couple B faces the exact same issue. They talk about it early, not perfectly, not like relationship gurus, just honestly. The problem gets solved before it becomes part of of their identity as a couple. Same problem, different outcome. But in 2026, communication faces a challenge previous generations never had: constant digital connection. Ironically, people are more connected than ever and often feel more disconnected than ever. A couple can exchange 200 messages in a day and still avoid the one conversation that actually matters. They discuss memes, reels, dinner plans, and random videos, but avoid discussing fears, expectations, jealousy, finances, boundaries, or future goals. It's like having Wi-Fi with a full signal but no internet connection. And then there's the endless option problem. Dating apps and social platforms create a strange psychological effect. Researchers often call it the paradox of choice. When people believe unlimited alternatives are available, commitment becomes harder. Every disagreement suddenly raises a dangerous question. What if there's someone better? Previous generations often asked, how do we solve this problem? Many modern couples unconsciously ask, should I replace this relationship instead? Neither extreme is healthy, of course. Staying in a toxic relationship is bad. Constantly searching for perfection is bad too. The reality is that every relationship eventually leaves the honeymoon phase. The butterflies calm down. The excitement becomes familiarity. The highlight reel becomes real life. And that's exactly where many relationships in their 20s face their biggest test. Because the next reason breakups happen isn't about communication at all. It's about something people rarely discuss when they're falling in love, yet it quietly determines whether love survives. One person is building a career and working 70-hour weeks. The other wants more quality time. One is saving every dollar for a future apartment. The other wants to enjoy life, travel, and create experiences now. Nobody is wrong, but they are living in different chapters of life. This is where many relationships in our 20s quietly fall apart. People often think compatibility means sharing hobbies. We both like the same music. We both love gaming. We both enjoy sushi. That's nice, but long-term compatibility is usually about something deeper: values, priorities, and direction. Let's compare Sarah and Mia. Sarah chooses a partner mainly because of attraction and chemistry. The relationship feels exciting. Every date feels like a movie scene. But whenever serious topics appear, money, future plans, family expectations, personal goals, they get postponed. Mia also values chemistry, but she pays attention to life direction. Not because she's boring, because she understands that eventually every relationship leaves the entertainment phase and enters the teamwork phase. 5 years later, guess which couple faces fewer surprises? The famous author Stephen Covey often emphasized beginning with the end in mind. The principle applies surprisingly well to relationships. If two people want completely different futures, passion can delay the conflict, but it rarely eliminates it. And then there's another challenge unique to modern life: self-development. In your 20s, you're constantly hearing messages like, focus on yourself, build your career, improve yourself, maximize your potential. Many of these messages are valuable, but sometimes people accidentally turn growth into isolation. The healthiest relationships aren't built by two people sacrificing all personal goals. They're built by two people growing individually while still moving in a compatible direction. Think of it like train tracks. Two tracks don't merge into one. They remain separate but travel toward the same destination. Here's a question worth thinking about. Would you rather have a relationship that lasts 3 years and teaches you valuable lessons, or a relationship that lasts 10 years but prevents you from becoming who you're meant to be? There's no universal answer, and maybe that's one reason breakups in our 20s feel so common. This decade isn't just about finding the right person. It's about discovering who you are, what you value, and what kind of future actually fits you, which leads to a surprising conclusion that most people completely misunderstand about relationships that end. So why do so many relationships in our 20s end? Not because people don't know how to love, but because this decade is a period of massive change, discovery, and growth. Sometimes a breakup isn't a failure. It's two people realizing they are becoming different versions of themselves. The real goal isn't finding someone perfect, but building something with someone whose direction matches yours. Because the right relationship doesn't stop your growth, it grows with you. Writing.